Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Really do appreciate timely joining in. Today is going to be okay. It will be nice if we can stay away from any place that is noisy, so we all enjoy this session. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be experiential. So I'd love us to put away distractions and try our very best to focus on the call. To those who came in with their AIs, if your AI does not have access, please let me know. So I would quickly accept it from my side, so you can get all the recaps that you want to have. Okay, so the chat room is open right now, so you can use the chat anytime you want. I mean, just to see if you don't if you have anything to ask during the course of the webinar and the period of the you know uh, engagement, right? So maybe you don't want to distract the speakers, or you can just quickly drop it there. But either which ways, if you really want to have your question, I mean, if something is pressing, you could use the raise hand icon, just like I've used right now. It's on the top of the Teams tabs there. You see where you could raise your hand and then you could bring it down. Please do not forget to bring your hand down immediately after your questions have been answered, so that we would know that you are not asking a second question. Yeah, so if you leave it up, means that you still have some questions to ask in the course of your, asking those questions, right? And then if you do not want to use that, you can just, drop the, questions in the chat. We will still address it in the course of the speaking, right? So thank you once again, everyone, for making it to this stage today. I have um, I have Chris Tola here, who will be helping us with the introduction, taking us through before we have the panelist session to with our experts here to discuss, those burning questions that we have, those challenging questions and even simple ones, and then complex ones. Nothing is going to be, left unturned today. We would attend to every, questions regarding cybersecurity, normal security, network, anything that has to do with what we're discussing today. Would love you to, share those questions, in the course of the session. So this session is being presented to you by Velvet. I'm Ayomide, the host, and I would love to, see you also at the end of the session. We'll be going through the introductory part where we'll talk about, cyber threats. We'll look at compliance. In Nigeria, things are just changing. Today, you wake up and something has changed. You don't really know how to, keep up with all this, regulations. While it is important, yes, we must understand that these things are important because of the changing also landscape. The country is also trying to adjust to make sure that we are able to tackle the things that are important, and we are also safe. Organizations also need to check with the government to see that they are meeting up with those standards, so that everybody is safe, right? Because if we're just doing our businesses, going ahead with what we want to do, and we're not looking back at what challenges we need to address, we might end up falling into a big ditch eventually, right? And then we'll also have a panelist discussion with our experts here who will be joining us here. Some of them are already here, and they will be discussing about the those regulations, and then the approach in looking at cybersecurity, the challenges, and how we look at it. We'll also look at the the 247 team, the SOC as a service. We'll discuss all this, and eventually at the end we'll come back and tell you what we have for you to help support you. So I'll hand over to Chris now to introduce us and take it off. Please, Chris, take it away, please.
All right, thank you, Ayomide. Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to our discussion forum. My name is Christola. I'm a sales engineer with Sophos. I have the privilege of having my colleagues with me, Bumi, Oluwayemika Remi Ayebogun, and of course, Sandra Inadozie, our channel account manager for West Africa, is also on this call. So we'll be having a panelist discussion, but before then, like Ayomide said, we would like to introduce you to what exactly is going on right now in the world of cybersecurity. What are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of people putting different layers of protection, defense in depth, and whatever you call it. But then they're still suffering breaches. They still have to pay huge fines for lack of compliance and all that. And we're trying to drill down into the root cause. One of the things we found out is a lot of us don't have a solid security operations center strategy. We don't have a proper incident response plan and all that. And we're looking at how we can make things better going forward. So that's what we'll be talking about today, basically. So my colleagues at some point will join the panelist session and we would ask each other some questions to your benefit. Before I begin, I would like to introduce us to the Active Adversary. For those who don't know, an Active Adversary is an advanced hacker. This is someone who is already on your network. It's not someone that's trying to, run tools to break into your network. No, they're already in. They already have their credentials. They already have access, hands-on keyboard access into your network, right? How they did that is a whole different story. Starting with getting initial access brokers from the dark web, or buying credential access into your network directly, which they mostly already have, right? So you have to, at any point in time, assume you are dealing with an active adversary on your network at every point in time. So don't assume that, oh, we've not been hacked, because these attackers don't just come out, in one day. They take their sweet time, they go through whatever they can. I'll give you an example so you'll understand. So in any case, this is the kind of person you're dealing with today, the active adversary. So you might think of this as one guy in Russia, who wakes up one morning and is trying to hack you, or some young boy in the UK that's trying to hack you. Active adversaries are a highly skilled cyber criminal group, right? We're talking about a group of maybe, 40 to 50 people working 24/7, trying to get into your organization, trying to steal confidential data, trying to bring that your network and make you pay for it, right? So it's not just one person anymore. It's a whole team of individuals you're dealing with. And these groups are so advanced right now that they probably use artificial intelligence even more than you. Of course, most cybersecurity products now have artificial intelligence to enhance the detection, enhance the response skills as well. But guess what? The attackers also have a host of AI-powered tools, scripts that can learn your environment and even bypass your protection layers, right? These are the kind of criminals that you're dealing with today. You need to understand they know how to adapt. They can adapt in any environment: Linux, Unix, Windows, Mac operating system, cloud, on-premise, even air-gap networks, air-gap networks where you don't even allow servers to reach the internet. They have a way of getting to you. So in the concept of this, in the context of this session, please, at any time when we talk about, getting attacked, getting breached, first of all, think about the active adversary. That this is an adversary that has a permanent footprint. They are persistent on your network. If you like, switch off the servers. If you like, block the IP addresses, they will remain, because they've found several ways, to remain on your network. And this is the kind of people we're talking about today. When we look at your program objective, security program objective, the aim of every CISO is to ensure that you don't get into the news for the wrong reasons. You don't want to be on the front page of the newspaper or the blogs, because there's been a breach, because someone made a mistake or someone didn't do the right thing, right? That's what you're trying to do. So you want to detect attacks on sensitive data assets and stop them before they put you out there in the papers. Now, if we were to break the objectives into three, of course, there's a lot more than this. If you look at the NIST approach or the NIST2 approach, or whichever approach you're looking at, you have the identification, protection, detection, response, you have recovery, you have risk, and the rest. But if you focus on just these three, protection, detection, and response, you find out that for a lot of CISOs, who may be legacy minded. When I talk about legacy minded CISOs, these are CISOs that are still kind of old school, right? So they believe, oh, once I have antivirus, firewall, email security, I'm good to go. And then they believe the antivirus should do everything for them. Once I have an antivirus, I should never be hacked. If your antivirus is strong enough, I will never be hacked. Forgetting that we're talking about the active adversary, who has already bypassed your antivirus, right? So protection is meant to proactively, stop attacks that are known and even unknown attacks and vulnerabilities. That's protection. So you'll invest a lot of, funds on getting antivirus, getting a firewall, email gateway, NAC, DLP, and stuff like that, still at the protection level, which makes a lot of sense to reduce the attack surface. So the more attacks you can stop, the better for you, right? And then there's detection and there's response. So why do we need detection if protection is there? Because protection is not 100%. So when you look at all these third-party reviews, you will see 99.9%, effectiveness and stuff like that. That looks really, really good, right? But then if you were to project, admin, could you mute them? If you were to project into the future where, or even the present, where you have millions of attacks, right, on a daily basis, several million. If you multiply that by 0.001%, you find out that out of a million attacks, about 10 will still get through. And God forbid, one of those ones that get through is an active adversary. That's going to be a huge problem. So protection is not going to be enough. That is why we need to be able to see what protection would have been. So detection is more like having a CCTV camera. I use that analogy all the time because it kind of, drives home the message. You have gates, you have security doors, you have access controls and the rest, but then you still have security cameras. Security cameras may not provide you any additional security, which is where we need to make things clear. So a lot of customers who have an antivirus will say, oh, this year we are budgeting for EDR or XDR because we want better protection. I hate to break it to you that nobody gets better protection from an EDR tool or an XDR tool, right? All the protection you need or you will ever need is with your antivirus and your firewall and the rest. That's the protection you'll ever need. When you go to the level of EDR or XDR, what you're trying to say is you want to set up a SOC. That's basically what it means, because that means you want to go deeper than protection. You want to see, the activities that lead up to those alerts that you see on your protection. Because before you see an alert on protection, there are a lot of steps that would have happened, a lot of stages. Could you mute, please?
Why you are not going to see you?
Admin, could you mute? Okay, thank you. So a lot of things would have happened before you get to the point where you're seeing this alert and you're having to stop them, which is what you would see with detection. So an admin logs in multiple times, or there are multiple field logins, or someone creates a scheduled task. You don't get alert on your antivirus for these activities because they are not malware yet. Right? These are things that admins can legitimately do. But detection will pick them up like CCTV camera recording everything. So the recordings don't give you extra protection. You have to go and look at the recording, and you have to feed the recording into an analytics engine, could be an AI engine or a detection engine that will then, put all these pieces together, and then, based on the rules that you've set, create a detection and say, this is not good. Looking at this context, put these two events together. That creates a case. You need to investigate it and be sure that it's not an active adversary doing this and not the administrator. At this point, the antivirus is not picking anything because there's no malware being run yet. So now you understand what detection really means. Detection does not give you protection. You need extra protection. You need to use the detection tools to be able to proactively, stay ahead of the attackers or see their game plan and stop them early. That is detection and response. So if you're going into EDR, XDR, you have to learn to be able to use it yourself. That's the only time it's effective. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money. So detection helps to identify potentially malicious or suspicious behaviors, and then you can go into response. From detection, you have enough data to be able to analyze, to investigate, and determine if you need to respond. If you need to respond, which means you want to neutralize the attacker or remove the attacker from the environment, or maybe reset password and recover response, then helps you to be able to do that. So with response, you have highly skilled people. Again, in response, we're not talking about AI doing response alone. No, we're talking about human beings right now being able to investigate and remediate for you. Right. The earlier you respond, the earlier you can, the greater you can minimize the impacts of that attack or the attack to your business, right? So the three objectives you need to focus on: protection, which you're already doing, surely already doing. Detection and response is not something you can do passively. You can't just have an EDR to do detection and response for you. No, most EDR tools will help you a lot with detection, which is more like an IDS. An IDS, of course, you know, it's not an IPS. An IPS is the protection, the prevention side, whereas the IDS is the detection side. When you use an IDS, you want to detect breaches or you detect malicious activities, suspicious activities that you then, you know, revamp or tweak your protection to be able to stop, right? So whenever it comes to detection, it means you need to do some extra work. You may not have the time to do it, as you will see in the case of this customer's example I'm going to give to you now. So there's this customer who are quite big. They have a lot of customers, tens of thousands of customers. They're less than 2,000 in size. They have an IT department about 25 people plus, but only 5 people are dedicated to cybersecurity, including the CISO. So you have a CISO with 4 people reporting to the CISO, right? So they've been around in the fintech industry for a very long time. They meet compliance, they train staff regularly, and they have a SOC that runs 9 to 5. And that's another thing. A SOC is supposed to run 24/7, but they have one that runs 9 to 5 during weekdays. You know, assuming the active adversary in Russia or in North Korea or in China or in Romania, you know, would close, you know, when you close. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. 90% of attackers start their work after you close. So from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., we see about 11% of attacks, you know, happening. And after 6 p.m. work day and weekends, you know, 90% of attacks, you know, happen. Now, this company, they have quite an advanced, you know, cybersecurity team. They do health checks, you know, pen testing, vulnerability management, incident response drills. They have all of that, blue, red teaming and stuff. They do that. They do offensive cybersecurity. They've deployed a host of tools. You know, you have SIEM, you have firewall, NAC, antivirus, email security, patch, you know, cloud, EDR, you know, PAM, the whole nine. They have invested a lot in cybersecurity, which is really good, right? They've reduced the attack surface as much as possible, which leaves us to the SOC. The SOC is supposed to be the crowning, you know, glory of every CISO. You want to be sure that, you know, you understand your security posture at all time, and you want to be sure that you're able to check if there's any malicious activity or suspicious activity and have peace of mind. So SOC is where you have peace of mind as a CISO, right? So in this SOC, the CISO has 2 zero threat analysts, right? They're not highly skilled, but you know they can help with the day-to-day, you know, monitoring of detection and, you know, help with some investigation. But they work only 9 to 5 on weekdays, which basically means they're covering 10% of those, you know, cyber threats, as it were. Then they have some AI assisting them with threat response, which makes them work faster. And also AI can also work when you're not on seat, which is also very good. And then they have some integration with the SIEM and maybe some little bit of SOA there with the AI integration. But that's all good until they got attacked. So they got attacked one Monday morning. They found out that they've been attacked. So they had to drill down what exactly happened. So the attacker was demanding $10 million as ransom. Of course, because not only did the attacker, you know, punish them with ransomware, they also stole documents, they stole confidential data, confidential information from the organization that would then put the organization in breach of compliance. So this was an European customer. They would have to, you know, face GDPR fine. GDPR fine is huge, about 20 million euros. If you convert that to Naira, that's a couple of billions, I think about, you know, 35 billion Naira or so. That's a lot of money, right? Or 4% of your gross annual revenue. But in any case, they would have to pay this fine, and the attackers were holding them to ransom. Of course, there's a lot more that goes down with a breach. I'll allow Remy to do justice to that later on. But what happened? Having put all this together, they had a server on Azure. They gave their external developer, maybe some guy in Romania or India, some access to that, because that's where you outsource most of development to, software development. So this guy who connected to the Azure infrastructure had a VPN access, who then allow him to do internal RDP to the server to be able to administer it. Now, his device was already compromised by an active adversary, unfortunately. So when he connected to their infrastructure using the PAM and or what have you, he gained access to the Azure server. From there, it was able to, used the site-to-site VPN to come to the on-premise infrastructure, took over the Active Directory within a couple of hours from Active Directory, got a lot more credentials, got a lot more access, elevated privileges, and was able to move around. I was able to affect the backups as well, delete backups, encrypt backups, disable multi-factor authentication. Was able to do a lot more damage, go into confidential documents, was able to decrypt files that were encrypted because the encryption keys were also there. So basically all those things they had put in place, it took the Active Directory just 3 days. Of course, it's a group of people. It's Lockbit, for those who know Lockbit ransomware. So it took about 3 days for them to be able to do all of that damage. And by the time they came in on Sunday morning, it was too late. All the AI and whatever, they were there, but no human being was there to oversee them. So they couldn't do much. At the end of the day, they were all disabled by the time they came in on Monday morning, right? So this is what you are, usually up against in cybersecurity today, and you have to be ready for all possibilities. Now, when it comes to incident response, I mentioned, they had some AI-assisted response. Most of the time, when it comes to AI-assisted response, it's usually threat response that you get, not incident response, and there's a distinct difference between them. Threat response mostly is to contain or to stop malicious activity. It's basically to buy time for incident response. Let me put it that way. So if you're depending on AI, I'm going to get EDR plus AI and I'm good, or I'm going to get an AI SOC. I hate to break it to you that you'll be getting only threat response, right? You might be able to get some playbooks, where you will be able to have some incident response with SOA, where you will be able to completely remediate the threats. But then, we have attackers that are constantly, how do I put it now? Metamorphosizing, they change their tactics every day. So your playbooks may or may not work most of the time, right, when it comes to this advanced attack. And that's why you need the response where you have a human being that can actually help you to investigate properly, get to the root cause of that issue, right? Fully remediate the threat, remove the attacker completely, and also help to prevent that from happening in the future. So that's incident response for you. So those are two, you have to take note of them. So the challenge is for you to be able to catch them early, right? So stop those threats early. For what we have, we're able to stop this threat in less than 40 minutes. The fastest internal SOC teams can do it in about 4 hours. The median time is 16 hours, which is really too late right now because Active Directory gets breached in less than 5 hours now, as of today, right? So the faster you can remediate, the better for you. So the mean time to remediate should be something less than an hour, because we're seeing the attack time also coming shorter every year, mostly because the attackers now have much better tools and script that they can run. So for example, run a threat profile, for example, that helps you to see if there are phishing domains that are trying to look like your domain, if their accounts have been leaked online from your organization, and also the VIP accounts that have been leaked. You need to run some compromise assessment, have a threat profile of your organization to know exactly where you are. So your executives are always going to be the targets of BEC or high level spear phishing campaigns. You need to know which of them are currently being targeted. If your domains are being targeted, what kind of breaches can be identified, what kind of data has been exposed. You need to have all of this in place. You need to have visibility. You need to be able to see more sources. You need to be able to ingest more data sources into your SOC, Security Operations Center. And not just that, you enrich your data lake where you can then mine the data, query data, and also be able to connect them using API to several third-party solutions. If you've already made the investment in cybersecurity, you can't throw them away. You need solutions that can openly connect to those cybersecurity investment that you have made, to be able to get telemetry from them that would help your security operations teams to be able to investigate, to be able to detect faster, investigate faster, and also respond faster. That's the whole point. So either you run it yourself using our XDR tool, or you can allow us to do that as a service for you. If you don't have the time or the skill to do it, we can provide that as a service for you. So the whole point is, the more visibility you have, the faster you can drill down and respond to this. So we're going to get telemetry from all the various layers: your backup, network, email, cloud, identity, firewall, endpoint, Microsoft integration. So if you have Microsoft Defender or you use Microsoft, in the cloud, we can connect to them, natively and get the telemetry that would help to enrich the SOC, the data lake, so that you can correlate faster and be able to respond faster. That's the whole point of this. So if you were to build the SOC yourself, how much would it cost you, right? You have to look out for a physical office, get the tool that you need, like EDR. Of course, you need to have EDR or XDR, right? For your SOC, you need to have workflow, SIEM, SOA integration. Threat intelligence is very key. Network integration, public cloud integration. All of that costs money, and you have to be paying every year as well, right? It's not a one-off, even if you bring your own SOC. So if you were to go through this, hiring people, putting the processes in place, it will cost you a whole lot of money. But there's another way to do this. You can do SOC as a service where we provide all of this for you: the people, the tools, the resources, as a service, which is just a fraction of the cost. So to give you an example, in that scenario I painted earlier where the customer was attacked because of a VPN access, if they had an MDR solution in place, which is a managed detection and response, similar to what we call SOC as a service, not only will we be able to help them to contain the threats, which is to stop and ensure that the threat does not escalate, basically to isolate and block certain IP addresses and processes. We'll then go into incident response mode where we will be able to identify what happened. We will be able to check VPN logs to really see exactly what was accessed. If there's any new malware payload, we can do malware analysis on them. We can try it and see where the activity originated from. Basically, find a root cause and completely remediate and prevent them from happening again. So if we need to reset the admin password or do a domain-wide password reset, we would let you know. That's the next step for you to do. Ensure that you protect all devices, even devices of the contractors accessing your platform. Some of the recommendations you will get. Modify your policies to enforce best practices, and also for remote VPN, implement multi-factor authentication or ZTNA. These are some of the things you would get from an MDR service. So to round up this scenario, we strongly recommend that to have a strong security strategy, you use MFA wherever possible. Anything externally facing should be protected with multi-factor authentication. Doesn't mean it can be bypassed. It just means that it makes it very difficult for the attackers as well. Or better still, use zero trust network access as well, because that also leverages ZTNA for your identity protection of identity providers as well. Software updates, the must make sure that you patch all vulnerabilities regularly as soon as they're available. So you have to ensure that you have ways to know which of your software applications are vulnerable and patch them regularly. Staff education is very important. Continue to educate your staff on artificial intelligence, business email compromise, phishing, so they can also social engineering, so they also understand the role they play in cybersecurity. That it's not just for the CISO or the CISO's team. Everyone has to play a part in securing the organization. And most importantly, you have to make your defense a 24/7, 365 operation. It can be a 9 to 5. By running a 9 to 5, the organization basically shot themselves in the foot. Having spent up to $1 million on cybersecurity already, your SOC is the crowning glory for the CISO, right? So you might be in charge of governance, risk, compliance, and the rest. But if your SOC is not working 24/7, right, you're allowing the attackers to have a field day after work hours, and that's not good enough. So I'm going to switch over to the panelist session that will be moderated by Sandra. I don't know if Sandra is available right now. You can unmute your mic, Sandra, if you're here.
Yes, I am. Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chris. Thank you so much for the amazing, straight to the point education, right? You've done so far. So we're going to go quickly into the second part of this webinar where we kind of discuss, right, real life scenarios on what we have heard so far. And so we'll have a question, and then we have panelists. We have Chris himself on the panel. We have Remy, and we also have Bumi also as part of the panel. And the first question we'll be asking is basically for us to understand. We've heard of those terms severally, right? We come across it, we try to fight against it, but we need to really understand what it entails. So the question is, what is a data breach, and how does compliance come in? So we all have heard, even as CISOs, as head of the IT in various organizations, we're all trying to avoid having breaches, right? And we all know data is gold. So the question is, what is a data breach, and how does compliance come in? So Chris, are you taking that?
Sandra, if I can quickly take that, because of time, I think I'll just make my answers short, right?
Thank
So
you.
for me, any security incident that has to do with unauthorized data access is a data breach, right? Any security incident that in which data has been accessed by unauthorized persons, right? That's a data breach. When it comes to data compliance is an ongoing process, right? It's an ongoing process that ensures that you handle data correctly, you handle it in a way that it's according to regulations and best practices. So you handle data, protect data according to regulations and best practices that have been set out for you. So that's how I would compare data breach and compliance.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. That's pretty straightforward. So we know data breach is basically once data is accessed without unauthorized by unauthorized person. So if someone is using your system unauthorized, they're basically breaching, that by having access to the data on your PC. So it's as easy as that. It doesn't have to be when there's a very big outbreak that you then refer to it as the data breach. And compliance basically is handling data according to regulations. Thank you very much for that, Chris. And what are the most common causes of data breaches in organizations today? Right, we have organizations that cut across several sectors, but I know that there are a lot of common causes of these breaches. So would you want to throw more light on that?
Thank you for that, Sandra. You're
Yes.
correct. Almost all organizations have the same common basis. So we are looking at things like unpatched software vulnerabilities. That means you're not updating your system, either your server or your laptop, right? Whenever there are updates. The use of weak passwords, right? A lot of us tend to use very basic passwords like favor 005 or your date of birth for your passwords, right? And we have phishing attacks like social engineering being a very common way being used because right now we use emails a lot. So we get a lot of phishing attacks via email and the likes of that. We also have misconfigured configuration. So either on your cloud services or on your laptop, not following the best practices for all the basic things. So you have things like also malware and ransomware. And we have lastly, what we call the insider threat. So those are humans falling for either of these attacks or, falling prey to any of these issues. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Remy. That is very straightforward as well. So the common, she has said it all, the common, what's it called now? Sorry, just a minute. Right. The common causes of data breaches in organizations we're all guilty of this. Sometimes we do not update our systems until like the last minute, until the system insists on updating before it shuts down. It shouldn't be so. Repetition of passwords. You have using the same passwords for all your Yahoo Mail, your Gmail, for Netflix, all of that. These are all unpatched vulnerabilities that people can use, right, to have access to your data. Phishing attracts social engineering. We know that humans is the weakest link, and even with the sophistication of technology today, people can easily find a way to do social engineering, use your pictures from maybe LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, and they can guess your date of birth, and these are easy ways for them to then have access, right? And then, of course, once one person is breaching the organization, it's just a matter of time before it gets to the whole organization. So the next question we have here is sorry, just a minute. Okay, now, what is NDPA? I'm sure everybody here have heard about NDPA 2023, and what are the penalties for lack of compliance? So when we talk about compliance, yes, go ahead.
All right. Okay, so just as Chris mentioned earlier, was talking about compliance. So we have various compliances out there, right? So the most popular one, the GDPR and the likes of that, right? So Nigeria has their own. So NDPA actually stands for the Nigerian Data Protection Act, which was enforced 2023, right? And it's all about various processes that every organization that houses the personal data of Nigerians, right? You are expected to follow the framework, the laid down rules in terms of ensuring that Nigerians' personal data is protected and ensuring that, you know, there's a form of trust in the way you handle digital information out there. And when we look at penalties that we have, so penalties for breaches could include paying up to either 2 to 10 million naira or 2% of the gross annual revenue of the organization. So whichever one is higher, right, the organization is made to pay. And in very extreme cases, now depending on after investigation is done by the NDPR, it can be as bad as 1 year imprisonment, right, if you do not fall into it. And one other thing that is required is that if you experience any form of data breach, you are required to report to the NDPC Commission, right, within 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Remy. So now we know that compliance basically means handling data according to regulations. And even in Nigeria, right, we have the NDPA that enforces compliance to ensure that data of the data that any organization keeps meets regulation. And of course, there are repercussions. Just to digress a bit, Remy, are there any live cases of these repercussions that you can tell us of? Just quickly, if there's any company in Nigeria that you're aware of that maybe had to pay the fine or, you know.
Of course, yes. So the likes of Fidelity last year, they were told to pay over 500 million, right, by the NDPC because they were found guilty. Yeah. So, and I think at the moment, there's a situation with Meta. So that's the founders of Facebook, right? There's an ongoing issue with the FCCPC. They are supposed to pay about 200 million because there was some form of violations, right? When they looked at how WhatsApp was handling our data in Nigeria. Yes, so it's actually something very, very serious. They are doing a lot of investigations. The likes of NIMSI also was in the news where it thought their third-party vendor, right, was actually not handling our data properly, right? So to show you that they are very, very serious about it.
Wow. So this is not just text on paper. There's actually action being carried out on the repercussions of not being compliant. So I asked that question so that we can highlight, so that we're all aware that the government is actually being, they are being serious about, organizations being compliant about keeping data as they should. So my next question now is, I know that we are all basically from Sophos, the cybersecurity solutions company. So the question I would have is, you have a solution called the Sophos MDR. So how can you explain how Sophos MDR helps us in preventing data breaches, the whole breaches and compliance issue? How does your product now help us to cope this issue? Chris,
all right,
are you taking that? Okay, Remy.
Yes. So so our MDR it combines the use of the human expertise, right? And we use advanced technology. And if you look at what Chris mentioned earlier on, where he broke the various aspects of when you're trying to protect. So you're looking at the detection aspect, you're looking at the investigation and the response aspect, right? So with our MDR, we combine the use of our technology, the use of artificial intelligence with experts who work round the clock, right? So we are detecting, investigating and responding to threats in real time. So it involves comprehensive threat elimination through being proactive, right? We're not waiting for when there is an incident, right? So that is where the detection aspect comes into it. So we are being proactive in doing threat hunting. We are trying to check if there's anything out of the ordinary going on. And definitely we are using artificial intelligence to drive the analysis to make sure we respond on time. So making sure that we respond on time and effectively to ensure that any form of attack is contained before it becomes a breach.
Right. Thank you, Remy. So that is how MDR helps with data breaches. You said it involved technology, artificial intelligence, people, real-time detection, remediation. So you're saying that if by 2 a.m. on a Sunday, I see someone in finance, trying to get admin rights and trying to log into maybe HR documents, your solution has the ability to flag such an activity and investigate further. So that helps with that aspect of data breaches. That's the Sophos MDR. So the next question will be, how does this solution as well help with compliance? So there's data breach on one side, trying to avoid data breach. Then there's the other part where you have to ensure your compliance. So how does the Sophos MDR ensure compliance with various data protection regulations?
All right. So in terms of compliance, we have several templates to check compliance. For example, PCI, HIPAA, and the rest. So we have those templates that help you to check that. Also, we have built our solution to be able to help you with audit-ready reports, right? So if you're using EDR, for example, you're running live queries or using the live response to go into a machine, for example, to restart a machine or to update the firmware or to update the security patch or to delete files or to uninstall applications on that machine. All of these activities are going to be recorded and tracked, right? Even if you're using the command prompt. So every keystroke, every command you enter is recorded and is made available on the audit side, so that the audit logs, so that the administrator can not get away with certain activities they did. The audit team can always come in, or the compliance team can always come in to ensure that things have been done, the right way. We've also built our platform to ensure that it conforms with the likes of GDPR, which of course is closely related to the NDPA 2023. So we've built our product in a way that we maintain the compliance standards across board for globally and also in Nigeria.
Okay,
Right.
so what I'm hearing is that the solution is already tailored to fit into the regulatory bodies and what they require of organizations. Also, what interests me is that you mentioned that there are reports already, churned out that captures everything that they need for their compliance. Right. So once I'm on Sophos MDR, basically, I don't need to do so much. As much as the data is being records are being made, logs are being occurred, but also I have the report ready so that I can, easily submit that in case I'm being called up by any of this compliance body. Right, that's perfect. Okay, so moving on, the question I have now. So when Remy was speaking, she talked about proactive threat hunting. So how does that play in the effectiveness of Sophos MDR? So are you saying that you don't have to wait till there's an actual incident, right? That Sophos MDR helps in proactive threat hunting, right, in my environment. So I would need some more details on that, and I'm sure the people want to know that as well.
So when it comes to being proactive, threat hunting is one of the ways you can do that, because with threat hunting, you are not waiting for any alerts or detections from the tools that you have. So from your EDR, from your SIEM, you're not waiting for any indication from there. You are going ahead to look for any footprints of attacker activity that may have been detected by your tools. And this is not something that AI does very well. This is something that humans do. This is something that comes from experience, something that comes from experience of having, thousands of customers. For Sophos MDR, for example, we have about 50,000 customers. So that's what we call community immunity, where we get so much threat intelligence across board. So if we've seen a particular pattern in another country, we can, or a particular industry, maybe in the fintech or the FSI or the health, we can check across, but for all of our customers, for those IOCs, for those behaviors early, right? That's what we call threat hunting. So we're not waiting for any detection. So even if there's no detection, there's no published IOCs, we can proactively, look for certain activities or certain behaviors and, check across all of our customers' estates to ensure that we stop them early.
Okay,
Right.
thank you very much, Chris. Another one, what are the key features of the Sophos MDR that differentiate it from other MDR services? Of course, we know that you're a big player in the MDR field, in the cybersecurity space, and we know that literally every other OEM out there also offers some sort of MDR service. So why Sophos? What key features does Sophos MDR have that puts them at an advantage over other MDR solutions?
All right. So first things first is we provide key features like 24/7 threat monitoring, right? We use artificial intelligence for our operations, our security operations. We also offer the full-scale incident response that is at no extra cost, because we have some other partners that they can give you the threat hunting, they can give you the operations, but when it comes to the full incident response, you'll have to pay another extra fee for that. And most importantly, we can integrate seamlessly with the current security tools that you have in place. So for example, if you are a Microsoft shop, right, we seamlessly integrate with Microsoft solutions and some third-party popular OEMs out there, right? We also integrate with them. So all of this is to ensure that we enhance the effectiveness of being able to monitor your environment properly.
Thank you very much, Remy. So, I mean, that was pretty straightforward. There's one question I missed earlier when we're talking about compliance. I mean, we've talked about why we should be compliant and all of that, but there's a question that I would like us to also highlight to everyone. I'd like it's Bumi now, I think it's part of the panelists, to explain how does non-compliance with data protection regulations impact on organizations financially and reputationally. So if I'm not compliant as an organization, regardless of the fine and all of that, what other repercussions does it have on me as an organization financially and also as per my reputation? Mr. Bumi, please.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sandra. Okay, so non-compliance with data regulation or data protection regulations can lead to, well, fines, obviously, right? Hefty fines, right? And I'm sure nobody, right, starting from those in charge of cybersecurity to the regular employee, right, would want to be the reason why, their organization would be incurring, hefty fines, right? And then also we have other things like legal penalties, right? So also legal issues can arise, right? Lawsuits can start flying, up and down and stuff like that, right? And then also there would be, it can also lead to loss of customer trust or confidence, right? Customer trust, investor confidence, and things like that, right? We've seen a lot, right? I'm sure that many of us have seen as a result of, different kinds of news, right? Not just cybersecurity, incidents, right? But then also cybersecurity incidents also lead to things like, for example, you have a company stock, right? In the stock market, all of a sudden tanking, right? Tanking some 20 to 50%, right? And then everybody's wondering what happened, right? And then, in a few hours, you start seeing news, flying that, there had been a breach, right? So things like that, right? Ways that, non-compliance, right, can impact, an organization, right? For example, on the side of cost, right, the average cost for organizations failing to comply with data protection regulations, right, is around $14.82 million, right, on the average across the globe, right? So it's a lot, right? It's a lot financially, on the side of reputation, side of trust and confidence from customers and investors, right? Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you very much, Bumi. Thank you. I mean, it's a no-brainer. We all know that people only patronize who they trust, right? Loyalty, brand loyalty is very important, irrespective of any kind of business that you do. So to avoid hefty fines, to avoid loss of customer confidence and brand loyalty, to avoid loss of your investor funds, which can also lead to your stock tanking, we should all try as organizations to ensure that we are compliant with whatever bodies is regulating data breach in our different sectors. Okay, so next question is this. I mean, we've talked about the MDR, the futures, how it helps with data breach, how it helps, with compliance as well. So the question is, how can organization measure the ROI of implementing Sophos MDR? So if I invest in Sophos MDR, what is the ROI? How do I measure? What are the parameters for me to measure that the monies I'm being put, the monies and resources that I am being, assigned to the Sophos MDR actually has returns that are worth it. So how can organizations measure the ROI of implementing Sophos MDR?
So I think the first thing to start with is to look at the. I think someone needs to mute your mic. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So you need to look at this from the risk perspective, right? So with Sophos MDR, first of all, you're reducing the number of breach incidents. So that has to be shown from a risk, chart, so to speak, to the senior management, the guys who approve the budget and release the funds. They need to understand that you're reducing data breach incidents as much as possible. Also, Remy, spoke a lot about the fines. Bumi spoke about the legal issues as well. So you're reducing the number of compliance-related fines by using Sophos MDR. That's also an advantage for you. Also, because you don't have to invest, I showed earlier the cost of setting up your own SOC. You don't have to now build your own SOC from scratch, buy all the components and, hire all the staff. So you are reducing operational overhead. That's your OPEX is reducing as much as possible. So you're not managing cybersecurity yourself exactly. You're outsourcing to someone expert who can manage it for you at a fraction of the cost, right? So that's another thing you need to look at. So with us, we're providing a comprehensive protection that gives you, round the clock peace of mind, 24/7, 365 service, 2 a.m. on Christmas Day. We are working, so you don't have to stress yourself. You don't have to stress your staff. You have time to focus on your key strategic initiatives to drive your business, to build applications, protect those applications, provide guidance to senior management on how to protect the organization, which is what you need to do, and to enforce the compliance across board, rather than chasing after active adversaries in various countries. So if you look at it from a risk perspective and how reduce your risk exposure as much as possible, I think it will be easier to put the ROI together. And of course, again, the cost of you building a SOC physically or personally versus outsourcing it to Sophos, the gap is really huge. It's a no-brainer, really. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Chris. It goes without saying that, I mean, we all outsource some of our services that we do not maybe have as our core business, basically for ease of operationals and also for expertise. So for reduced time, for getting the best of the best. I mean, all Sophos have done is cybersecurity. They've been in this business for years. So basically outsourcing to them is definitely reducing the cost, considering the cost of building your own internal SOC, considering the cost of hiring and rehiring. And of course, in Nigeria, we know the Japa syndrome. You employ somebody, they're up to par within 2 years. Next thing, they're going to the US. I mean, you can't stop them because you probably can't match what offer they are getting. But in order to keep your company still compliant over time, right, the Sophos MDR basically helps to cover up all these loopholes. 2 a.m., public holidays, you're still covered. There's still active threat hunting, remediation, and whoever is relegated as the contact person will also be contacted, right, on how to go forward. Maybe it's been contained and how to go about remediating, and whatever new configs need to be put in place to avoid those loopholes, right, from those avoiding those vulnerabilities from happening again. So I have one more question before we go back to the few slides we have remaining, and then we'll come back to the remaining questions in the chat box. So the last question I have would be, So what advice are we giving organizations now struggling with cybersecurity resource constraints? We know the constraints we're having in the cybersecurity industry today as regards resources, right? We know the cost of, salaries, we know the cost of hiring and rehiring. We know also, dealing with so many OEMs, you might have a different firewall from your cyber protection, so all of that. What are the advice? What key points would you give organizations that are struggling with these constraints that we're having in cybersecurity research today?
All right. Thank you, Sandra, for that question. Okay, so straight to the point, I would say that the advice I would give rather to organizations would be to consider leveraging on managed cybersecurity services like the Sophos MDR, right? And the reason is because it's going to help to, obviously you get around the clock monitoring, right? So you have a team of human beings, right? Cybersecurity experts, right? That will help to, handle the workload, right? Let me use that word, right? Of having to monitor all of the events, right? Events, from a log view perspective, right? Looking at logs, right, and all of that, right? Logs from your SIEM, your SOA, and then whatever other cybersecurity tool that you're using, right? So you get all of that, right, round the clock, right, and then to a large extent, right, it allows you to have peace of mind, right? Peace of mind, which is like part of what you hear a lot, right? When we talk about MDR, right? You would hear us let me use the word interchange, right? We have other names, right? Sophos has other names that we use to refer to the MDR. We have cybersecurity as a service, and then we have peace of mind as a service, right? So the goal is to give you that peace of mind, right? Have you be able to rest assured that you have a team of experts, right? Monitoring your environment, right? And then not just monitor your environment, right, but also help to provide response, right? Response, or rather, let me put it, detect and then also detect, incidents or indicators of what could lead to incidents and then potentially breaches and things like that, right? So you have a team of experts that will help you monitoring and then helping to detect, and then also in the event that there would be a need to respond, right? If an incident does happen, right, you also have a team of skilled people, right? The aspect of detecting and response requires skills, right? Which is scarce today. Hiring the skills is expensive, and then also even the people that them have the skills are also not as, let me use that, available, right, as you would think, right? So the advice would be to consider, leveraging, investing in managed services like MDR, right? So you get the round the clock monitoring by experts, or rather provided by experts, response without the need for you to, have, those expensive and very scarce, skilled hands, right? And then this approach also helps to, get you that superior cybersecurity outcome, right? And then also helps to keep you compliant, right? While your organization is able to focus on their core business objectives.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Remy. That was very detailed and straight to the point. Like I said, with the Japa syndrome especially happening, literally every organization across all sector is having one or two effects, especially in the cybersecurity and other skilled departments. So of course the wise thing would be to outsource it. So I'll hand over back to Chris now. I think we just have 2-3 slides left, and then we'll answer the questions in the chat box and then call it a day. So Chris, over to you.
All right, thanks, Sandra. So just to round up, we talked about Sophos MDR, which is SOC as a service. There are two tiers to it. There's MDR Essentials that basically works with your existing antivirus. So if you want to keep the existing antivirus, it's fine. We can provide a layer on top of it that would help to ingest telemetry from your antivirus, from your other security layers, like your firewall, your email, your cloud, ingest them and help us to be able to do detection and threat response. But if you want full-scale incident response, whereby we use our own antivirus agent, which is Sophos Intercept X Advanced, completely. So that would enable our team to be able to do what we call full-scale incident response. They would help to be able to remove the attacker completely, give you a root cause analysis, and also on top of that, give you a breach protection warranty of $1 million. So if there's a breach where you lose your file, or ransomware attack, you lose your files because of our negligence, we will pay up to $1 million in the response cost, for you. That's Sophos MDR complete. Right. So those are the two flavors that we have. You can reach out to our partner to get more information on that. So Vumi already talked about the benefits of using Sophos MDR. So for internal IT teams, we enable to focus on your work. You can go on leave. You can have your weekends to yourself, and also demonstrate a strong security posture to your audit and assessment teams. If you have a SOC already, we can empower and train your teams. You can give them access to our Fed experts who have been doing this for decades, and also elevate your cyber skills through regular partnerships with our team. Now, as a value add to all of our customers, we ensure that we provide cybersecurity awareness to you through our partner Velvet. We also provide health checks to ensure that you've configured your solutions using best practices. We have a complimentary home premium license, which is an antivirus license for all of your users to use at home to protect their devices, the Mac, Windows devices at home, for their kids, for their spouse. They don't have to pay anything for that. It's a $40 license, which is basically provided for you at no cost because you're working with our partner. So just to recap, you need to change your mindset from a legacy to a modern CISO. You need to take, detection and response seriously. You also need to be able to convince decision makers, the senior management team, so they can understand, what's at stake. We're talking about active adversary, we're talking about artificial intelligence, talking about advanced social engineering this day. So they need to understand exactly what's at stake. You need to understand that detection monitoring needs to be done 24/7, 365. You need to provide time, you need to provide the people, you need to provide the skills to run it. If you can't do it, MDR, Sophos Managed Detection and Response, is there for you. So it should be part of your cybersecurity incident response plan. So your incident response plan should be able to detail what needs to be done if there's an active incident, what should be done, who should be called upon, who should fix what, right? So you should have MDR provide incident response for you as part of that. And we can guarantee you that Sophos MDR, SOC as a service, will give you peace of mind. That's all from our side. Over to you, Ayomide. Thank you. Ayomide, your mic is muted if you're okay.
Yes, I'm open now. So there are questions in the chat, which will start from the first one, which was in the Q&A. Yeah, so someone is asking, what does a typical CAS, the CaaS implementation, look like from a CISO's perspective? And he's also asking, what is the CaaS provider's approach to ongoing training and development for internal staff, and also for an organization that operates 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, you understand, how can they ensure that the SOC are not available to hackers?
Comes to cybersecurity as a service implementation, I think I had shown a slide. Let me just see if I can quickly go back to it at the beginning. Just give me a moment, just to give you. Yeah. So this is a snapshot of what cybersecurity as a service looks like. So basically, we'll plug into your network, your endpoints, your network visibility, endpoint visibility, firewall visibility, because network and firewall are two different things, right? Firewall deals with the edge, while network deals with the internal network. Cloud visibility, email visibility. If you have backup, we plug into that as well. If you have identity provider like Okta or Entra ID, we plug into that as well. So basically, the more sources we can get, the better we can provide you cybersecurity as a service, right? It's not just the EDR, it's not just the endpoint side. So this just gives you a view into how we plug into the various areas where data is being ingested. Could be a remote user, could be in the cloud, could be a branch office, could be at the HQ, could be at the data center. The aim is to bring all of that telemetry into a centralized database called a data lake that we can then plug in our analytics engines, the AI, the detection engines, the human capacity to be able to use that data lake, to be able to generate those detections, to be able to investigate, to do threat hunting, and also to analyze and investigate, and possibly use the agent to then respond. So for the response side, we can use APIs to connect to your third-party solutions, or preferably we can use our own agents residing on your machines, on your servers, on your endpoints, to be able to initiate response, which could be maybe block an IP address or reset a password or restart a system or delete a particular file or do a domain-wide reset, basically. So that's basically what it's like. So cybersecurity as a service is you consuming cybersecurity without having to worry about who's doing it for you, right? So we provide you the human capacity to run the SOC. We provide you the tools that is needed. We tweak your processes, provide you advisory services, provide you a threat profile where we will check, the dark web, if there are signs of breaches, if your VIP staff, that's your senior management team have been compromised, the accounts have been compromised. These are some of the things we will do for you within cybersecurity as a service, right? So for internal staff, we have several training modules for them as well, because the cybersecurity as a service runs on our XDR platform. So because we're running that service, you then have this tool. You can use this tool for security operations. You can use it for IT operations as well. You like to run patches to see why a system is being too slow, to see which application are running on someone's system, to kick them out of the network or to stop RDP or whatever it is. So you have full access to those tools. So those tools require you to, of course, have some level of training, which we will provide for you to be able to use that. They're free training tools. They're also paid training tools as well, services that you can utilize. So that's also there. Now, if you are working 8 to 5, the MDR service has various options. There's authorized options where you give us full access to the SOC. At any point in time, we take action and then inform you and give you details of what we've done. So you get the daily report or weekly report or monthly report as you wish. The reports are out over there on the dashboard. You can do authorized, or you can do collaborate. Collaborate allows you to take charge during 8 to 5. So 8 to 5, you want to be the one to do your investigation and whatever yourself. Then 5 o'clock when you close, you want Sophos to automatically take over from you. Or let's say on the weekend or at night, there's something that needs to be done. Sophos cannot reach you. They don't have to wait for you. They should go ahead and fix the problem. So when you come in the morning, you can see the report, or you then finalize, what else needs to be done based on the next steps. So all these options are available. If you want to be notified, if you want us to take charge completely, if you want us to collaborate, we have all these options for you. I hope that answers your question. Ayomide?
Yes.
Right.
The second question says, okay, so how do you ensure software and systems are kept up to date with security patches? You want to take that?
So yeah. So with that, you need to have a kind of risk exposure management, so to speak, or device exposure, to know which operating systems are running on your system, which ones are out of date. So we have a tool that does that as well. Right. We have a tool that's actually dedicated for external attack surface monitoring and IASM as well, both external and internal, that can do this for you to check all the vulnerabilities and prioritize which ones need to be patched first, right? Because then there could be 10,000 devices, but there's some of them are critical, and some vulnerabilities are even much more critical than others, right? So we'll prioritize which ones you need to fix first in that order, so it can help you to conserve your time and also make sure that the critical devices are attended to first, right? So we can do that for you. But at the basic, we have what we call device exposure that shows you which devices are vulnerable, what you need to do to fix that vulnerability. So that's also available on the platform. If you would like to have a demo walkthrough, we are available to do that for you. We can do that for you. So we take it through the live platform so you can see it, you can even play around with it to get used to it and see if you like it. We can do an XDR proof of value with you for a week or two if you would like to use the XDR, integrate with some of your other solutions, your firewall. If you have a third-party firewall that's not even Sophos, you can work with that. If you have a third-party endpoint, you can work with that. So basically, bring whatever it is you have. Let's connect that to our SOC and help you with detection and response. That's what we are trying to say here. All right.
Okay. There's another question here. Give me a second. Let me see that. Okay. So it says, can we have an example of an CBN regulated entity, maybe one or two, who is currently subscribed to Sophos MDR services? This is an NDA Wahala question.
Yes. Yeah, that I was going to say. So this, we can take this offline. I can reach out to Velvet. We can provide that for you in confidence. That's not a problem.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Also, what measures are in place to protect or prevent, detect, and respond to cyber threat? This has also been answered in the course of the call. Okay. Moni from Tolaram Group says we have been using MDR for almost 2 years. I like to sincerely thank the entire Sophos and NDR team for the excellent support. The 247 threats hunting, monitoring, and incident response capabilities have been extremely valuable in strengthening our security posture. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank
Moni.
you so much, Moni, for this feedback. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Okay, it continues. It had greatly helped us in proactively mitigating threats and maintaining a secure environment. Looking forward to continuing this partnership. Thank you very much, Moni, once again. Okay. In the chat, I have dropped a form. If you access the chat, you see a Start Now button where you could click on it. Please, everyone, you're required to check the chat now. If you've been here till this time, it's very fantastic, sitting back up to this time. I want to celebrate my first responders. Please just take your time to fill that feedback. Drop a comment for me, drop a comment for the Sophos people. It's always nice, having Chris on the call, Sandra on the call, Remy, Bumi talk about security. Sometimes I just sit back and I wonder how the world can really be safe. And I got a message yesterday from South Africa, right? And the message was about a challenge that MTN is facing. And then when I began to read through, I realized that we have not even heard about it here in Nigeria because they are trying to manage the challenge. Like they were actually hit. And imagine what information your telecoms provider has about you. Imagine, the data that they are keeping representing you. So some people do not understand how, these things could be, you are being identified with a SIM number. That SIM number is your mobile number, and that mobile number represents you, right? And anyone who reaches that number has reached you, for instance, right? And then every other information that concerns that concerns you, that you are keeping together, is still connected to that your SIM number. And then someone goes ahead to break that, right? So you see how we are all individual customers of some organization, the same way people are our customers, and we're trying to protect them. If we can take as CISOs can look at this from a perspective of, what if it were, if it were a company that I was patronizing, and they didn't do the best they could at the point to secure my data. This is how I will be in the open. And while I'm even trying to secure myself, someone has already gotten access to, to my organization with what I'm doing. Maybe I even have a CUG line. A CUG line is my company, is my business, right? So just imagine the whole havoc. These people are just the active, hunters, threats. They are just, I don't know who gave birth to these people, right? But I guess somehow, some way, that's what gives them peace of mind. This world is weird. Some people prefer to hurt others and make joy out of it. And I don't know, they just survive like that. So we should be on the protective side, preventive side, and even, hunting too for them. I mean, why do I want to wait for someone to come and break my door? Why don't I just keep four dogs in front of my gate looking for people around? Just a scenario there. But in real life, at the end of the day, the activities that we do, like, we are responsible for making sure that our organization is safe. We are responsible for making sure that our organization data is safe. We are responsible for making sure that the customers' data in our own organization is safe. And if anything ever happens, we will be the first people that they will ask, what didn't you do? Right? Let it be a case of, oh, sir, look at the email I sent to you 4 months now. I've been sending you this email. I've been trying to tell you this, and you did not respond to me. You did not approve it. But now it has happened. It is best that you have positioned, this the solution, and then maybe they are trying to, find a way to implement it. You are trying to convince them that there is nothing on the table at all, and the company gets in the middle of that, and then you are the first person to look at. Please, there is a roundtable discussion. I don't want to mention the name of the company, but if I mention, everyone will know, because we are all subscribers to that company. We're working together, and there was a breach, and it wasn't actually a breach. It was an in-house person who made a mistake, and the thing went viral inside the company. It was flagged from the foreign house, and they called a meeting. They call it a situation room. They called us because we are partners, and then we sat down together. We started brainstorming what could have caused it, right? At the end of the day, we were able to mitigate it because it was someone that was in-house who just opened a port, as simple as opening a port. And maybe, who knows, that guy who was in the book, that I forgot the name of the country you mentioned, who just accessed that, Azure from there. If and only if there was someone who was on ground who just saw that red alert, like, how did this happen? And why is this person logging from here? Oh, they will say, no, no, it's one of our staff. It's okay. And now this person will be allowed to look at, okay, what is this staff really doing? Begin to see some actions, say, no, even if this person is a staff, he shouldn't do this. You will block the person first and begin to ask questions like, why are you doing like this? Don't you know that this is wrong? Cases like that. In the case where even the person who is even, remotely hired is now even the threat, that means you just granted him access to do whatever he wants to do. So it's always best to be proactive when it comes to cybersecurity. It's always best to be proactive when it comes to, protecting yourself eventually. So I'm really, really glad that we were able to make out this time. I know some people might have requests to have a demo on MDR. So let me drop my email here. Give me a second. Yeah, it's very simple here. Please just pick it up here. Shoot me an email directly. Just say, I would love to have a demo on this. Or you can also use the form and also indicate in the comments saying, I would like maybe a demo or something. So we'd see how we could put together the team and shoot you something. If you want to try some of these things out, please let me know. So I'll be with you there, and would just make sure that you're safe. If you would like us to maybe be your security partner, just as Tolaram Group has said here, it's a fantastic thing. We could come in to help you make things, look better, more secured. You can focus on more important tasks that are, right in front of you. Okay, Michael would love a demo. Please, Michael, shoot me an email, please. So I'll be able to track it. There are many things that we'll be doing now. And after this meeting, we'll be talking to some people. So let me know that, I have a queue. And even if I forget today, I'll still be able to send you an email tomorrow. Schedule that when you are convenient. And we'll look at what works, and then we'll make it work, please. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Krishnan said I would love to get, okay. Please do the same. Please let me reach out to everyone who needs a demo, and we'll see how this works. You can bring in those people, those decision makers, those hard guys, those tough guys, those people that don't want to always accept. They say, no, 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 the budget is too, we don't have budget, everything is tight. Bring them. Let's talk with them. Let's let them look at, okay, um, do you want to say something? Who's there? Someone unmuted. Hello. Okay, I think it's an error, right? So let me just mute everyone. Okay, so please, I would love to have us, and we'll see how this works out. I believe that it will be approved. What is important is always important for us. Let's do what we need to do. Let's be able to, actively look for these guys as they're looking for us. They don't want to sleep. Let us also not sleep, right? And at the end of the day, we'll survive. Let's say during our lifetime, these things would happen in our organization. I will say amen, because I don't want it to happen during my time. So I'll do my very best to make sure, it doesn't happen. And I just saw an extra question in the chat. So Anosike is asking, was the facilitator speaking about SOC or SOC? Kindly please speak to it. So SOC, the first SOC is SOC, which we know, and then the second SOC is SOCK. So Chris.
No, we're talking about SOC, that's Security Operations Center.
Okay. Anosike, I believe you got that. So we're just speaking about Security Operations Center. All right. So now, thank you very much, everyone who has filled the survey. Please, I want to especially mention everyone who has filled my survey. I am glad. I'm always glad when people, are responsive on the surveys, just to make sure that, their interests are being captured. Just give me a second. Let me see uh, who has come to me. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you very much, God's time. I appreciate that. And everyone who has, yeah, I'm seeing you guys. Thank you, thank you for dropping. Thank you, me too. Thank you very much. I appreciate your, filling out the survey. We'll look forward to having you. We'll look forward to having, the assessments, the health checks. We'll work with you and see what happens. The demos will be with you to make sure that you get all of them. And is there anyone who wants to do a vote of thanks now? So we close out, just to thank our presenters, and we close out on that. Okay. Ebenezer, thank you. In fact, oh, sorry, Sandra, you're going off. All right. So let me close out now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris, my very good friend. You've always been, a guy that knows security, and I love that about you. Thank you, Remy. Thank you for being here with us. Bumi, thank you very much for being here with us. Sandra, thank you very much for making it out here with us, and also my favorite team. Thank you guys for being here. Abdul Salam, I appreciate your presence here. I see you. Everyone who came in with their AI, thank you very much. Peace, thank you for joining us. Everybody on the Velvet side, I appreciate your presence here. I will see you all via email. I'll try to make sure that the link comes to you for the training, the presentation, and the recording. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of your day and have a hack-free week, have a hack-free month, and also have a hack-free year. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Thank you.